right, everyone, so this is the Q&A portion of our presentation. Does anyone have a question?
I have a question.
The positive is so important, and I'm from a community college, and we're wanting to implement, I get so emotional because I was where you all are. But what are some of the negatives? How can I make my program 100% better than your program? How can I get 100% of all of your students from a bachelor's to master's to PhD?
Well, I would state that, first of all, is that something that any other department on campus does? Are those realistic goals?
You know what? I don't care what other departments do. I want my program to be 100%. I want every student that is enrolled in my program or volunteers in my program, we recruit in my program, to go on and get a PhD. And I say, why not?
Yeah, and definitely, and I would encourage that and encourage your students to do that. And eventually they choose their own life paths and their own professions and their own careers. But at least they're open to that and they have that access to that information, so definitely.
I think that giving them information, because when students are at a community college, and I'm not speaking from experience because I haven't been at a community college, but just seeing it in some of my family members and in my community, at a community college, what they're worried about is transferring out, getting out. And I think that is the most crucial step. Because if they don't transfer out, they can't go on to get a master's. They cannot go out and get a PhD. They have to get out of community college first. Mm-hmm. And I think building relationships, with not only the people at your community college, because in your department there are several players in one team. And it can't just be one person who's trying to advocate for all of this, which is better than having none, I'll give you that. But you need to have a team and, other people who are going to be able to say, this is how you transfer out. And, you might want to think about a master's program or a PhD, because some students don't know what they are or what it entitles. Just plant a seed so that they can start to formulate their own ideas and thoughts of where they would like to see their paths go. But most importantly, I think it's transferring out.
Just to add to what Talia already said, just like the student needs to think ahead in his future or her future, not only to transfer out, the program really needs to think in that mentality too, work with faculty and staff that are going to be committed to long-term relationships with students and with their work, that are going to be, engaged in the work that they're doing. And if both the student and the faculty are really engaged and planning long-term, then, it should be successful, definitely.
Irene gave me something to read on the way over here, and it was about communities of care. And I think that's the biggest thing you can do, is build those communities of care. We human beings function best in family situations. And it's very seldom we have that ideal of a close family situation where we can be mentored. So we need to create those situations. And I think that's what will make the difference.
And also to add on that too, aside from having the support from the program in your end, I mean administration needs to also be able to, to provide some help in that process as well. So again, the role of counselors, and perhaps having some of those counselors do workshops with different departments as well. Right? And again, just encourage the students as well to go seek the transfer counselors as well.
And I would add developing partnerships with the institutions the students want to go to. And one of the things is, I was a transfer student as well, and it was those schools coming to my community college that showed me, hey, I could go there. And I went there. And from there, those schools showed me I could go to graduate school. And I went there, and so on and so forth. So developing partnerships, not just within the college, but with other institutions as well.
Oh, just to add to that, and also building the relationships with the community colleges. So the program that I was working with, they had a component where they would do outreach to community college, because you had non-traditional students, or students that couldn't afford to go directly into a four-year college. And essentially, the philosophy was to try to pipeline students. You would work alongside people who were already in graduate programs, participated in law school programs. So this particular program was called AAP at UCLA. It was about academic excellence, and you felt it was an ethos, so to speak, and you almost desired now to continue on education because your peers were doing that. You had a kid who's 25 and already applied to a PhD program, and there I am, 35. And so those kinds of things, those kinds of experiences continue to foster that kind of mentality. But look up AAP at UCLA, it's a good model.
How were you matched with your mentor? Did you seek the mentor out? Was it a formal program? What was the process?
I took an undergrad class, and that's how I met my mentor. The connection between, I said, I'm not gonna let this mentor go. And since then, I'm still in graduate school in a different department, and I refuse to. And I said, you're not gonna get rid of me. You're stuck with me forever.
And is that person a faculty member or a resident?
Yes, a faculty member.
And so all of you have had faculty members as mentors? Did any of you have a formal mentoring program, or was it all kind of what she described?
Yes. My mentor hired me. After that, I said yes to everything.
We actually also seek the help of each other too. Whenever we have questions, we help each other out, and we're just a phone call away, even if we're in another state, or we communicate with each other if we need the help.
Facebook.
Yes, Facebook.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. I think one of the ways to seek mentorship was really informal. It was through word of mouth. You hear students talking about a professor, this other professor, and then you get to know, oh, there's these professors out there who are working with these students. And that's how kind of we all met each other and started connecting with different professors and different resources, which kind of starts expanding. It starts with one person and it expands to this network where we can all contact each other, not just our mentor, but each other.
I'm the director of the OSU Cross-Cultural Mentoring Program at Oregon State, And what I'd really like to know is what specifically are you looking for in a mentor?
One or two words, huh?
With me, accessibility?
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't mean I call you at 3 in the morning. I'm a TA as well, and I don't want my students calling me at 3 in the morning. But just being around, which is as more I go into school, the more I realize professors aren't really around. So maybe having someone that's open to say, hey, let's meet twice a month about your work. That's important to me.
It has to be genuine though, because there are those people who be like, hi, how are you doing? But they don't really mean it. They don't care. They're just asking you verbatim. And so, I think there's no real formula to kind of, present, because it really has to come from that person. It has to be something that they really want to do, that they feel is necessary. Because, unless it's really genuine, students can feel it, and students can be like, whatever. A lot of times, being in McNair, there were students, and I was so fortunate not to be in their position. I was like, haha, I have a good mentor, and you don't. Because there were professors who wanted them to work on their research projects so that they can expand their knowledge and basically exploit these students who are trying to, go into academia. And then what are these students going to do? The same exact thing that was done to them. And they're going to exploit other students, and they're going to try and get, something out of that relationship, instead of saying, hey, what are you interested in? How can I help you?
For me, it was the leadership qualities. When I first met my mentor, it was through involvement with the campus, coordinating events and programming for the campus. And one of the things that really attracted me about this person was their leadership skills, and the fact that, like they mentioned, was so accessible, to give me the time to, not only plan these events, but after, we conducted that business, we went on to talk about, personal stuff, went on to go talk about what are my educational goals. So those are all like qualities that I looked at that person and I saw that, if that person could do those things, then so can I.
For me, I think it's really important to look for someone who has some shared experiences. So for instance, someone who's a first generation faculty can really, really relate to first generation students. So I think a lot of us, if we go on to pursue doctors and become faculty, we're going to have that, not advantage, but we're going to have that extra something that for some reason I've seen it draws students because they connect, they understand the experiences that they're going through.
What she said.
And if I may, I think there's been probably 2 or 3 faculty that have made some significant impacts in my pursuit of academics. There's also some that recognize that they need to scold you once in a while, like get it together, and because we all need it. And there's also you seeking out particular individuals who have particular skills and capacities, and so as a student, you try to seek out assistance, and at some point you will develop 1 or 2 strong relationships.
Especially when a student, and I use, of course, my experience as an example, when I came from such an underprivileged community, right, with very low resources, and then just the simple fact of having, a faculty in community college saying, you need to transfer, and no one else had ever said that. And I'm like, what is that? What do you mean transfer? Yeah, you go to a bit. He literally walked me to the counseling office, and I experienced the same thing as an undergraduate student, someone that believed again, saying, you can go to grad school.
So giving you direction.
Giving me direction, and then and just believing that one can perform research, that one can give a presentation, so that's very important.
Well, I'm just wondering where this came from. I mean, there's like this culture of mentoring. Where did the language come from? How do you know to call this person a mentor? Somewhere along the line it started, because this is going on, I think, on campuses everywhere, but people don't call it that, and students don't necessarily know to seek out mentors for themselves. So how did it start?
There are some students who are more knowledgeable in the fact that they do need to go and seek someone out, but I think most of the time, professors who are genuinely interested, they seek students out and they begin to tell students, you did really good in this, you might want to think about blah, blah, blah. And then, the language, I guess, it just generates later. I think from my own experience, I didn't use the term mentor until I was forced to use it in McNair when they said, you need to have a faculty mentor. And I was like, oh, I don't have one of those. But then I did. I didn't know I had one. I didn't know that was a term for it,
When you start really reading the literature in Chicano studies, you get to see how the Plan de Santa Barbara really projected these ideals and how they, through the years, they've evolved to become more formal as what we're calling it here today. And once you get an understanding more of the literature, you really learn that, that's something that they, wanted from the get-go.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It felt great doing the presentation, especially speaking about mentorship. It was a great experience. I've never done it before, and it really encourages me to go and do another presentation at another conference.
It was just very motivational. It's not until you're really presenting along with the other students that you get so motivated, and it just comes out naturally. When it comes from the heart, it can't be wrong.